Welcome back to the In the Eyes of Truth, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. And with us again is Aidden Minnis. And as you call, Aidden is from the UK, Irish roots. He's been serving in the Russian army. Right now, he's at home recovering from wounds.
Hey there, entrepreneurs. Are you feeling the squeeze from increasing regulations and higher taxes? Maybe you've noticed the growing instability and thought there has to be a better way. Well, you're not alone, and that's exactly why you need to consider offshoring your wealth now. Imagine a life where your hard-earned money isn't constantly under threat from unpredictable government policies. Sounds pretty good, right? Let me tell you. It's not just a dream, it's a smart strategy. Here at Exit Strategy, we specialize in helping entrepreneurs like you protect and grow their wealth. We navigate the complex world of international finance so you don't have to, from setting up offshore accounts to advising on the best countries with favorable tax laws. We've got you covered. Now, I know what you're thinking. Offshoring sounds risky, maybe even a bit shady, but the truth is many savvy business owners are already doing it. It's not just about dodging taxes, it's about creating a safety net for your future. Imagine diversifying your assets across multiple jurisdictions. When one country faces economic downturns, your wealth remains secure. Think of it as an insurance policy against the uncertainties of life. And let's not forget, having a portion of your wealth offshore can open up opportunities for international investments. You're no longer limited by the economic climate of a single country. You can tap into booming markets around the world, maximizing your returns. But here's the kicker. Time is of the essence. With increasing global scrutiny and tightening regulations, the window for easy offshoring is closing fast. The sooner you act, the better positioned you'll be. So why wait? Protect your wealth, secure your future, and explore new opportunities with Exit Strategy. Don't let the rising dangers in the US economy catch you off guard. Reach out to us today and take the first step towards financial freedom. Because when it comes to your wealth, playing it safe is the riskiest move of all. Thanks for watching, and remember, your future starts with the decisions you make today. Choose wisely, choose Exit Strategy. Catch you in the next video.
uh, Down in the Haidkov direction. So we're going to talk to Aiden, find out how his experience was, how his training was. Welcome back, Aiden. Glad to see you in one piece. Um,
It's good to see you again, Stanislav.
Last time I saw you, we delivered you basically to a military post. I'm not going to mention which post because, there's certain things you don't say. It's called military censorship, and I very much believe in it as an officer. Um, so, but let's talk about, first of all, how your training went, because in the West, they say that the Russian troops aren't trained at all. They're just thrown in as meat waves, and so on and so on.
No, I can't complain about the training I had. I mean, the day that you dropped me off, I mean, I was under the impression that literally it'd be a matter of weeks and we would end up our whole regiment would end up in the SVO. But no, I think it was roughly around about 3 months of solid training because it's like you're a motorized rifle regiment. I mean, I can say that. It's an assault battalion effectively. So
Hmm.
yeah, we were lucky in terms of yeah, we had the 3 months training, so we were training in clearing trenches, clearing urban areas, and everything that you can imagine that comes with it. So I can't complain at all with the training that we received. It was very good.
That's good because, I mean, I remember how much training we did for field ops. Really, at least in the U.S. Army at that time, we didn't do a lot of training on clearing houses. They preferred field combat to urban combat. And urban combat's the hardest thing you can ever do.
Yeah, sure, I agree.
So that's great to hear that you guys did that much training. Was it small team training, platoon level training, battalion level?
It was platoon level. I mean, of course, you got your overall regiment, and then of course you got the companies inside that, and then the platoons inside that. I think that's how it is. Like I said, I'm not a career military man, so hopefully I haven't got any of those wrong. But yeah, platoon level training. Of course, when you So, for instance, if we're trench clearing, you usually have two-man teams, like, but it will make up your whole platoon. So you'll go into certain areas of the trench, and then other people are going to the certain areas of the trench. So it's like tactical, you know. And then when you're going in there, you'll have one person kind of walking into the trench, crouching down. Then you have another one that's almost attached to him, shooting over his shoulder, you know. So
Hmm.
one's kind of focused about what he's seeing in the trenches, and then if anyone else pops up, the guy behind him's, going to do his thing. And then, of course, you do that, and then if the other guys are doing their job also correctly, you'll kind of meet up with them in the trenches as you're going through it and clearing it. I mean, yeah, it was an experience. I mean, it's we had to do that repeatedly because what one sort of slight misjudgment, I mean, it could be catastrophic. I mean, that was an experience. I found the urban training when you're assaulting buildings, I found that a lot easier, just simply because you've got a lot more open environments. You've got places to go. Whereas if you're in the trenches, it's like backwards or
Right,
forwards, and
right.
you don't really want to be running backwards either. So at least with the urban areas, you can hide behind buildings, you can hide behind just about anything that you can hide behind, whether it's trees, whether it's walls, so I found the urban clearing, or the urban tactics a lot easier. Trench warfare is, yeah, it was just even training and preparing for that's quite daunting.
Yeah, the problem with urban, of course, is snipers, mines, booby traps,
Of
and
course,
just crossfire from everywhere. But and it's good that you mentioned this way because most people, when you say trench warfare, if they know anything about it, it's World War One. We just had waves of infantry jumping into trenches, clearing the trenches, and counter waves coming in. Not this organized combat team where you have a fire team coming in and clearing section at a time. Uh, yeah, most people in the West have no idea what modern or I'm sorry, modern trench warfare looks like. They got
well,
to.
you imagine, Stas, it's like, there's not a lot of room in a trench, so it's
Right.
either like literally you've got no choice but to go forward or backwards, and backwards not really an option, because there's other guys entering the trenches at different points. So it's like, and you're correct when it comes to. I'll go back to the trench clearing. When it comes to the urban areas, you're right. There's a higher level of artillery. There's a higher chance of snipers. There's a higher chance of stepping on a mine or booby traps. At least when you're going into the trenches, as daunting as it is, and there's not much room, and it's a bit claustrophobic. You're less likely to step on a mine, because there's not
Yeah,
really any
right.
there. You're less likely to um, get hit with the artillery, because of course if the Ukrainians are firing their artillery as you're entering the trenches, they're all going to hit their guys also. I was not to say that that doesn't happen, because I think it does, because we all know that the Ukrainians, when it comes to their military command, they don't really care a lot about their soldiers. But I would say the opposite is in fact true, with the Russian battalions, at least the ones that I've been involved with. So I would say that, yeah, it's not a case of, you can't mount meat attacks on a trench anyway, because you'd have to go over. You'd have to go over fields and fields of mines. That's why you have to go in at certain areas, tactically. So it's impossible really to assault a trench with meat waves. It's just because it'll be a massacre otherwise. That's why it doesn't really get done like that.
Oh, don't say that. We had World War One that showed us that you can
I,
still
I'm, talk,
take
I'm talk-
trenches with meat waves. You just have to have big enough meat waves to walk over the
yeah,
corpses of
sure.
the first waves of the meat waves. Yeah,
I'm,
and
I'm
you're
talking
absolutely
in
right.
I'm talking in relation to the the Western press, the way they try and
Right.
meet waves with nothing but shovels. I mean, it
Oh,
is laughable, but
hey, we are the nation that created hypersonic shovels that can't be shut down. Come on. Our shovels are the deadliest shovels in the world. Full automatic shovels are a bitch.
I find it such a bizarre comment, because any kind of analyst worth their salt, and any sort of historian or military expert will tell you that during the Soviet times, and even going into the early era of Russia during the 90s, I mean they were stockpiling Kalashnikovs for like decades and decades at a time,
Oh
sort of
yeah.
ahead of themselves. In those guns, if stored correctly, especially a Kalashnikov, Um, they last a long time. For instance, our regiment was given a choice between you can use the new modern
Ah,
AK-12 or you
yeah,
can use the AK-74M, which is like from the early 90s. But the 74M, I preferred that as a weapon, the best
everyone
weapon.
does.
It doesn't jam. You could drop it in water. You could get sand and mud into it, and it's going to work. You don't have problems with the 74M. That's why it's such a good weapon.
I don't know about the British pop back pop gun assault rifles, but the M16 is the biggest piece of crap that you can have on a battlefield. I mean, it's just and it's great that you say that because the F16, I mean, I'm sorry, F16, M16, A2, A1, A2, depending on which one you got. You constantly have to oil that. It drops in the sand, it's gonna wear. It drops in the mud, you got a big stick. Or maybe with a bayonet on it. That's about it. It double feeds off of a bad magazine. You're fucked for 40 minutes trying to clear it. Personal experience more than once. And it all depends on your magazine. Bad spring in the magazine, it'll double feed where you get two rounds coming in like this at the under and over the bolt, and that's it. You
I
got nothing.
understand. Yeah.
You got to use the pliers to rip it up, rip the rounds up, pull them out a piece at a time. Yeah, so AK is a great weapon. Well, I I'm not gonna comment on the AK on the new AK. I've heard various things, but the AK-74 is a great weapon.
It is. It's the rifle of choice, at least amongst the people that I know in the different assault battalions that they're involved with. Like I said, you just don't get a problem with them, no matter what.
Mhm.
And I would go as far as to say it's probably the greatest Kalashnikov ever made.
Now, with the M16 too, when you're firing, or especially rapid fire, you constantly have to
Mm.
put oil into it because it'll gag up because it's not burning the the gunpowder high enough at a high enough temperature, so it gets clogged up. Did you ever have a problem with that with the AK-74?
No, I mean, of course, I kept my weapon pretty spick and span just because I don't ever want to be in a position where, God forbid, something were to put me in that position. But
Right.
I would say that, but there was also some of the guys that probably cleaned their rifle a lot less and they didn't have any issues. I mean, you could literally take your 74 and you could fire magazine after magazine after magazine, literally just bang, 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 bang. And you're just not going to have a problem with it. You've got to make sure your hands on the in the right place so you don't touch metal. But it's a seriously good weapon. You can have a lot of fun with it, and I'm talking in terms of training on the polygon, not being a psychopath and just shooting people. I didn't mean that, you know
Our
what I
weapon's
meant.
fun. So,
Yeah, yeah,
ladies and
yeah, sure.
gentlemen, if you go buy an original Kalashnikov, mention our names so we get we get our commission for pimping the AK-74. I-
Sure.
I had by the way, Chinese AK-74s. I had a friend, I have a very close friend in the U.S. and we're on his farm, and we both surf together. And he bought an AK-74 knockoff Chinese, right? And we're shooting. And I was the first one to shoot it. He hadn't shot it yet. He gives it to me. I'm popping off rounds. I mean, it's on his farm, so there's nobody around. And about on the 200th round, misfire. Okay, pull the reload, pull back the charging handle, reload, misfire, misfire, misfire. Okay, three misfires. Pick up the round. The blasting cap has an indenture, but barely. And we looked at the hammer on it, and the hammer had worn out after 200 rounds. I mean, that's how cheap this knockoff was. I mean, frick, 200 rounds, you got to replace the hammer. I never ran into that before in any weapon that I've fired. I've fired dozens of weapons. And it's like, and that's it. Fun's over. I got to go buy a
Yeah,
new hammer to replace it.
with a Russian Kalashnikov, especially the 74. I mean, you could really try and go out of your way to try and damage it, and you're not gonna. It's such a good weapon, such a reliable weapon. I said if given the opportunity, if I'm ever to go into assault again, if given the opportunity again, I'll always choose a 74 over anything else. It's just I can't speak highly enough of it.
Yeah, and my experience has been exactly the same, except for the Chinese knockoff.
Yeah.
And there, so if you're buying a Chinese knockoff, don't mention my name.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nothing to do with us.
No, 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 no. Don't know anything about it, but I don't recommend it. Yeah, bad, cheap metal. I mean, my God, a blessing cap is bronze. So if you're hitting it and it's a steel hammer and it's wearing out, Christ sakes, it's I guess they couldn't get any cheaper metal or steel into it. But yeah, that's called cutting corners. So listen, so what happened to you? You got injured. How did that come around? No, if not a secret.
No, it's not secret. I can say I was in my blindash, and for people that don't know what a blindash is it's effectively it's like an underground sleeping quarters. It's sort of dug three-quarters of the way underground, and you sort of build a roof over it, camouflage it. But then usually next to it, you kind of have a shooting position, and then every so often you'll have a position where people keep guard because you're on the front line effectively, front line positions. We were literally at the closest point, probably 2-3 kilometers away from Ukrainians. So
Hmm.
of course you got to have, you got to have decent position. So that's what blindash is. And you sleep in there. I was in there, and literally next thing I know, I heard a massive explosion, really loud. I didn't really know what was going on, and then I felt pain in my leg, and I was on the floor rolling around. So a drone. Um, and it was like early in the morning. So, that's like, it was probably still, what would you call it? It was probably still half dark. So
Hmm.
we had our light on inside, but of course, as much as you can cover your entrance, if there's a slight little hole somewhere, a drone's going to see that. And of course, you've also got like you dug underground, so there's also a rat problem. So you're always
Yeah.
going to get them. But of course, they create havoc and they create so many holes in things like that, which you have to keep covering up. So I think that may have been a part of the issue. And then, of course, next thing you know, bang, and then within half an hour, I'm on my way to the hospital with shrapnel in my legs.
Yeah. For the NATO audience, blindage is a dugout. It's a covered pit dugout. So two men, I guess.
Yeah,
Usually it's
that's
two
the
men
man.
with side. Usually it's side, sometimes in front areas of fire. So sectors of fire that you can cover each other with. So it's part of a defensive line that they were at. So did you see a lot of Ukrainian attacks?
They happened, but not. It wasn't the biggest problem that we had. I'll go into
Hmm.
something that our regiment did in a minute. But the biggest problem was drones and artillery. I mean that was massive. That was literally every minute of every day. But of course, even though it was every minute of every day, there was a Russian superiority in terms of mortars, in terms of drones, and in terms of artillery. Probably 10-1 in Russia's favor. That's how massive
Wow.
the how different the numbers were on both sides. But in terms of seeing Ukrainians, our regiment assaulted a village, which was literally from our original positions where we made our line. It was probably maybe 2 kilometers away. So of course, when we ended up assaulting that area, we drove them out, and I think they went back around about 5-6 kilometers, and then we made our new line there. Again, I don't want to be too specific, except it was in the
No
Kharkov
problem.
direction, you know.
Hmm.
But yeah, we you don't. This is the thing because we didn't clear a trench. It was we assaulted a village, so there's
Hmm.
buildings, so it was slightly different. And when you're setting yourself into a position to attack this urban area, this
Hmm.
village, you'll usually have artillery like starting up maybe an hour, 2 hours before, and by the time you get there, you've literally not seen many Ukrainians. You might see a muzzle flash come in the opposite direction, so you'll end up shooting in that direction. So it's kind of like that. So in terms of did I specifically see Ukrainians get shot? No, but by the time we took the village, they're scattered,
Yeah.
dead.
Yeah.
So, in terms of did I get up and close with them? Not really, because again, the artillery did most of the work, and then by the time we got to the village and cleared it, it's done. The Ukrainians, what was left of them, retreated. But of course, if you were to end up storming a trench, you're going to see them up close and personal.
Right. Yeah, artillery is a bitch. Well, when it's working against you, it's a bitch. And when it's
Can I
working
just say,
for you.
Stas, quickly before you ask your next question, I just want to say hello to my fellow countryman. I'll call him by his call sign, Whiskey, recovering in the hospital in a minute. I
Mhm.
mean, he is a warrior. Multiple storms in literally a matter of weeks, and like I said, he's in hospital recovering after getting blown up in a armored vehicle and then getting shelled as he was getting evacuated. But such a warrior. So I just want to say hello to him. So yeah, he's a good guy fighting for the cause also.
Oh, that's great to hear. Yeah, you gave me his contact. So yeah, we're out to working to help him with his issues. So and there's a big network of people like myself who are more than ready to help. Because there's bureaucracy, which, by the way, there's no professional military in the world that isn't heavy on bureaucracy. Bad to say
Yeah,
that, but
sure.
it is what it is.
No,
So,
I appreciate your help, Stanislas, and I
mm,
appreciate anyone else that has helped him because, of course, there's friends of mine that I contacted that they were able to drop him off supplies
mhm.
in the hospital. So, to all the people that help in any capacity, it's greatly appreciated. Because some of these guys, especially my friend coming from where he came from, kind of alone in Russia. So the
Right.
fact that these people go out of their way and to their own expense help is greatly appreciated.
Which is, which goes to again against that propaganda that the Russian public isn't supporting this war or that they're against it or this or that or they're not. Yeah, the Russian public, for the most part, of course, there's some who don't, but for the most part, people support. They donate. It's always been that way. It's.
Yeah, I would say from my experience from and again, I'm not trying to claim that I'm some kind of sage that I know the whole of Russia because I'm a foreigner. So clearly, I can only speak from my experience. But from my experience and the people that I have communicated with, I'm talking civilians, people not soldiers, not people directly participating in the war on that level. I would say the overwhelming majority of the people that I've spoke to support the troops and support the SMO because they realize what it's about. It's not a case of Russia invaded Ukraine. It's not that at all. The propaganda and the lies don't wash here in mainland Russia in the interior. So most of the people I spoke to are you know, very pro supporting their troops in this mission.
Well, I want to correct you a little bit.
Sure.
You're of foreign origin, but you're no longer a foreigner. You're a citizen of the Russian Federation. You have a
I
Russian
am. Yeah.
family, and so it's only a matter of time before you fully Russianize. It happens to everyone.
Old habits die hard. I can't help but sort of referring to myself as that. But you're absolutely right. Yes, I am a Russian citizen. So absolutely.
And that's something else. I keep hearing this. Oh, the Russians will hate us, Americans or English or French, because of what the government is. We can actually separate between what a government does and what the people do. So there is that separation. We have this tendency of doing that. So yes, we don't
And
hold grudge.
the Russian people are intelligent enough because I think the education system is far superior to anything the West has to offer. And yeah, they know there's a complete difference between the status quo, the politics of the state of the Western countries and the ordinary citizens that don't really have a choice and don't really have a say anymore. It's like an electoral dictatorship that they're living in. But it's just, so the Russian people are absolutely aware. And of course, I go as far as to saying there is a considerable amount of international volunteers now coming over, which includes British, Irish, Canadian, American, even. So that's increasing as the months go on, and it's only going to increase. So they know that there are people out there that don't support their government, and not really is like they've got a big say in that anyway. So they know.
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting to see too that with some of the volunteers, the stories are coming out where the government supposedly, the governments aren't at war with Russia, but
Right.
yeah, but and then you watch how they treat family members and things like that. To call it democracy or anything of the sort is well, yeah, I guess it's a version of democracy if you want to call it that much. But
Well, obviously I spoke to you about how I was treated.
oh
There's
yeah.
another guy, and I won't go into names or anything else, but there's another international volunteer that I know, and they found out about him over here, and his family and himself's receiving death threats also, and it's just like it's just barbaric, and and then you get the media that stirs up these things deliberately, so then these threats start happening. It's completely crazy, completely crazy.
What I also love, I go out work on X occasionally, so rattle people's cages, and other section. And these guys are like, oh, about the immigration because of shared value. Fine, hate these people. We don't give a damn. Oh, they're just MAGA or they're just conservatives. Yeah, but we don't mind. We'll take them. They're the most productive people in your environment. I mean, sure. Oh, you've hurt us by sending them to us. Ah, by all means,
The world is increasingly, especially in the West, turning into such a strange and bizarre place. I mean,
Oh,
you literally couldn't predict this behavior 20 years ago. You really couldn't. And it was bizarre back then, you know?
oh yeah. You know, I moved my family back in 2010 and I saw where it was all heading. Well, I thought I saw where it was all heading. It's gone so far further than the worst of my dark nightmares could have predicted. I mean, they got to the basement and they blew a hole and they went to the next basement, they blew a hole and they keep digging down. I mean, I it, I'm just waiting for the fire and brimstone to come down, Sodom and Gomorrah style on whole nations, because this is just
Yeah,
insane. It's
yeah, it is insane. You're right. It's bordering on mental illness, like literally clinical mental illness.
I don't think it's boring. I think it's well
It
past
is.
bordering on. It is straight up mental illness. These people
I was
are,
trying
I
to be
mean,
nice.
oh, I don't bother anymore. They're mental. And it's contagious, by the way. Mental problems are contagious. And you can see
Absolutely.
it spreading.
Well, they catch them at an early age now. So by the time the next generation come through into like adult society, it's going to be even worse because, of course, they're brainwashing them as children. It's far back actually, is nurseries. And then by the time they get into adulthood and they start entering the workplace and start entering politics, if that's their thing, yeah. So the next generation is going to be completely demonic. You know.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'd say a good chunk of the present generation is pretty damn demonic. Just,
Uh,
it's,
there's no words
yeah.
for it, really.
Like I said, my worst fantasies, darkest, fears didn't come close. It's, I mean, the transgender thing was way out of left field. Let's start chopping little boys and girls up. Whoa, the hell! I couldn't have imagined that until.
Yeah, and again, this is why this Russian people call it a special military operation. I mean, I'm slightly Western in nature. I'm from there. I mean, I call it war. Not that I want to upset anyone, but yeah, this is also part of what this war's about because it literally is fighting for traditional values. I know that is on the when you look at it from the outside, all you're seeing is war and destruction. You think, oh, Russia, Ukraine, but there's the Western element to it, supporting it. You've also got the element of is it going to be a unipolar world or a multipolar world? And you're seeing all these little um, demonic parts to it. So it is. It's a fight for traditionalism, and good against evil. I've always been outspoken in terms of that, and I've said it from the very beginning. That was part of the reason why I came here. It wasn't to be a war junkie. It wasn't Call of Duty for me. It wasn't a video game. It wasn't for money. It's literally these ideals were in my heart and in my head. So
Yeah.
I genuinely believe that I'm on the right side of history, and I'm fighting for these ideals and traditions.
Oh, and you're absolutely right. It is a war. Um, what it is legally called is one thing or another. The Vietnam War is not a war officially. That was a police
Mm.
action. So is Korea, by the way. So interesting enough, but they're all wars. I mean, it's you got two groups of people shooting at each other, and they're not gangbangers. It's a war.
100%.
So yes, but you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, and people refuse to see that. It's sad, but so many people continue to refuse to see that. They'll support, oh, it's about democracy. So you're to support a dictator that canceled democracy, canceled elections, shot his opponents, nationalized all the media, and that's democracy. Okay.
Yeah, truly bizarre. I mean, again, I think the people that actually live in Ukraine, they're experiencing these things, and even the most diehard of Ukrainian people are starting to question the decisions that the cocaine addict Zelensky is making. Of course, when it comes to the West, they're kind of separated from it somewhat. They're not saturated like the people of Russia, the people of Ukraine. They're saturated with it because they're at war, whereas in the West, they just get their little snippets from social media, and of course, we know that that's slanted in such a way where it's pro-Ukrainian, pro-democracy, dictator Putin, bad Russia, and it's ridiculous. So, of course, we're also fighting that because without the support of a certain element and a certain percentage of the Western population, these governments wouldn't be able to do what they were doing.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. How's your family? I'm talking not your Russian family, your uh well, should I call it Irish or English?
Well, yeah. I mean, we're talking a few generations ago where they were Irish. So the last generation, has been pretty much British. So yes, it's fair to say British. Even though, of course, you won't see me flying a Union Jack. I got my Irish flag and I got my Russian flag. But in terms of my family, no, I mean the ones that I speak to are good. Again, I won't go into specifics and what family members that I speak to. I don't even want to say whether they're cousins, brothers,
Right, right.
sisters, aunts, uncles. I'll just say the ones that I do speak to are very supportive. I wouldn't say they're necessarily pro-Russian or even pro-Ukrainian. They're kind of in the middle. Don't really know what's going on, but I'm their family. I'm their blood, so they support me. So they're
That's
good, and
good. That's good.
I've been out of the Western press for a few months. I mean, touch wood, long may that continue. So things have died down a bit, so they're kind of okay. Me, on the other hand, I probably still get death threats every day, but I just laugh at it.
Get
That's
in
all I
line
can.
behind the Ukrainian army.
Right, right, right. This is like, most of these people I know, they're Western accounts. They're from Western countries. I don't know whether they're Brigade 77 or whatever, which is like an intelligence psyop group that kind of do these things on social media. I mean, if it starts becoming like if they're Russian or Ukrainian names, I might worry a little bit more. But then
Yeah.
at the same time, it's like I was on the front line before I came back to sort of recover. So it's like whatever, dude, I'm fighting anyway. So if you think you're going to get a little victory by sending me a death threat, then have at it. More for you because I'm not going to stop what I'm doing.
The ones that really want to kill you aren't going to tell you they're going to come and kill you.
Right,
They're just going to
absolutely,
act on
absolutely.
it. So
I
yeah.
mean, it's quite childish on my part, but whenever I do get these, and again, it is very childish, I must admit, but I have to have a laugh, otherwise it stress me out. So whenever I get these death threats, they end up blocking me because I just start sending them nonsense. Like you start sending them like gay pornography, they'll end up blocking you immediately. I'm not gay, I'm married. No, but it's like you've messaged me, you sent me death threats, you're telling, talking all this nonsense. Then as soon as I send, that's my go-to reaction now, is I'll just send this gay pornography to them. They block me immediately. So it's like, why have you messaged me in the first place?
Now the
It's
reaction.
very sad, I know.
Oh, they're probably either waiting for you to get angry or get scared. Or no, no, please don't. Yeah. Combat soldiers, they're like, okay, yeah, whatever. Like I said, the ones that really want to whack you aren't gonna tell you. Um,
No, 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 absolutely. But yeah, that's how I react to it now. It's just otherwise, you're going to get stressed out. You're going to get involved in a silly argument you can't win. They're not going to take back what they said. So of course, click. Oh yes, I'm going to kill you. Blah blah blah. Okay, send gay porn, block. And it's done.
Um, uh, did you watch the interview I had with Kevin McAlidze?
No, that
He,
is one that I haven't watched.
yeah,
No, I know
watch
you
that.
send them to me regularly. So if you can send that to me, resend that to me again, I'll
Mhm.
watch that after we're done with our interview. But
I've
sorry
done
to
a
interrupt.
couple with him, but the very first one is the key. He describes how the system that they used, and especially since John McCain, and another three people were working as a team in Kiev, shaping the public opinion during the Kiev revolution. But as he said, half the people you're talking to, they're not people; they're all bots. And
Oh, sure.
the system they were using would make a million bots scan the different profiles, copy them, change them a little bit, edit them a little bit, and then randomize it, and then you'd have a million bots. So more than likely, what you're dealing with, or what I'm dealing with, everybody else is dealing with, they're not even people. They're just bots. They're AI chat GDP bots. So it's not even a
It's
point of
it's it's
talking to
quite
them.
it's quite crazy, really, when you think about it, because of course this is what they accuse Russia of doing. But it's like,
Oh yeah.
hang on a minute, Silicon Valley is in America, so they've got the technology to do that stuff pretty easily. Yet they still blame Russia for it. It's like, no, Silicon Valley is where you're at. I completely agree. Sometimes you can tell what's a bot account. You can just tell by how their homepage. I say
Hmm.
their homepage, but you click on the homepage of the person, or the person that's messaged you these things, and they're usually set up in such a way where it's got flowers, it is a background picture, either an animal is a profile picture. Everything can be set to private, or there'll be no information on there, and it's just like, and hardly any friends if that's visible. So it's like, yeah, 100% a bot account.
Yeah.
You can tell.
Well, the new ones, they pull photographs randomly off the internet. And people post tons of stuff. I mean, on the Facebook, my Facebook account is closed to only friends, and I keep a very small amount of friends because I posted stuff before on there. I don't do much posting anymore on there, but family pictures, so only for friends. So yeah, and the thing is, you really can't get once it's on one of these platforms, it's on there forever. It's
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
so whether or not you delete it, it's still on their server. It's just not on
Yeah,
your page, but
it's a major problem though, because of course I think what that does, you're completely right. What that does as well, I think it skews reality a little bit in terms of it probably shows people that maybe don't see this kind of thing with bots and stuff. Maybe they don't understand it, but it skews perception in such a way where you think there's more support for Ukraine than what there actually
oh
is.
yeah, yeah. Well, plus all these virtue signaling, I'll just put a Ukrainian flag because I can't find Ukraine on a map, but it's a COVID flag
Yeah,
or Ukrainian flag or whatever, screw the dog up the arse flag. Whatever I'm told to do, I'll do it because I'm a sheep.
yeah, and it's usually
Yes.
even if some of these people, if we talk about the virtue signalers, the ones with the flags on their profile picture, these are some of the most unhinged and nasty people in the
Yes.
world. I mean, some of the
Yes.
things they say is just, and when you try and speak to them with facts, like I don't do it anymore, but I must admit, when I first come to Russia, I was guilty of it. I used to argue with these people, not for fun. I was trying to show them facts. And of course, if you show them facts and you like own one of these people where you show them facts and they've got nothing to say, the vitriol that starts coming back. I know one person who still lives in the UK. He argued with these people, and because his Facebook was public, they ended up contacting his employer, and he luckily he didn't get sacked, but he got in trouble for having that argument because they're pro-Ukrainian and he was pro-Russian.
Yeah,
But he
yeah.
nearly lost the job over that. Disciplined.
It's horrible. It's horrible. They call it freedom of speech, but really it's freedom of speech as long as you agree with whatever the party line is of the week.
Yeah, if you don't agree, they're going to fuck you up. That's the
Um,
reality of it.
oh yeah,
Unfortunately.
absolutely. Screw your life, screw everything. So it's dangerous. Unfortunately, we're almost out of time. We've got a
That
little
went
under a
too
minute,
quick, Spurs.
but let's get you back on because right now the big thing is American elections, and once this settles down, we can go back to the regular humanity.
It's just is such crazy time. Yeah, I've said some of the stuff that I've been seeing already is just laughable. I must admit, sad state of affairs. But there we go.
Next couple of interviews, in fact, we're going to be touching on those.